Hi, Jessica. They're on mute, so we'll
Have a job and he
go on mute here in a minute.
took a new job and, we got a new
so they can hear us now.
Well, she leverages that, they paid for us.
Busy, so. Is it the witching hour? Should we begin this business? I don't see too many snacks on treats. But not this one.
Oh.
No, you go.
Good to see you. Monica! I did Eric, sweetie. So good to see you.
That's what I'm going home to do when we're done.
Sorry, we're here. Is Joyce gonna be able to? Is she excused today?
She said she would be here.
Okay, so.
Mark!
Mark,
Hi!
lead the way on the treat table over there, Mark.
Bye.
We're gonna offend the culinary arts.
Well, I'm gonna go load up.
Okay, Kirsten, we just.
Ladies first. That's what I was waiting for.
And sorry, Zoomers, maybe we can describe in great detail later.
Well, here's this if you wanna.
Okay, well, let me describe it. Thank you. So what we have today, and I'll do this in lieu of Joyce, we hope she'll be joining us, is that today we are featuring 2 culinary arts students that started in our culinary arts program in their senior year in high school and are now completing our program as adults. Hello, my name is Joshua Gardner. I was born in Olympia, Washington, moved to Ogden, Utah when I was 7. I joined the OTEC Culinary Arts program in July of 2020 and plan on graduating next week, almost 1 year after I joined. So he's a COVID grad. That's awesome. After I graduate, I plan to join the catering team at Utah State University. My end goal is to use my culinary certificate that I received here as well as a business degree I get at Utah State University to one day open up my own restaurant. Second chef is I am Nicholas Dennison. I was born in Houston, Texas, and moved to Ogden, Utah. I decided to join the OTEC Culinary Arts program about a year ago. I have always loved cooking and know I always will. I remember being young and helping my mom in the kitchen as well as a kid could. Cooking has been part of my life and always will be. We work together to present a charcuterie? Yes, is that right, Will?
Yeah.
Charcuterie board with an assortment of cured meats, mixed berry, fruit jam, and cheese. And for dessert, blueberry tres leches cake. My Spanish is
Nailed it.
real good.
Perfect.
Joshua.
Trace, you did a
Give me
great.
the Chinese menu, I'll be okay.
Josh Gardner is our student of the year, our first student of the year that was named as a high school student. Josh has been going with me. We've been going around to every one of our cities in Weber County, and we present them with the 50th anniversary scholarship that they can give to a resident of their city. And I introduced Josh, and Josh talks about what the student experience is. And I usually throw up a picture if we have a presentation of what Josh has created. Last week he created Cajun fish tacos, and it was salmon. And it was pretty expensive. And he said we could only make, because salmon's so expensive, he said we could only make 40 orders. They were gone. They went really, really fast. So it's wonderful to be able to go out and talk and represent the tech college with our cities and towns in our community, but it's so much better when you got a student speaking.
Great, they're amazing. So feel free to migrate over there at any time during today's meeting. So we'll excuse Cameron and Richard and Corey Ann. They're excused from today's meeting, and we have some guests here. We have Bryn Murdoch, Development Director, and some students that we're going to be hearing from. You've got one. Is that one student, one instructor?
Yep.
Okay.
Former student.
Okay. That was a compliment.
I know, I was taking it.
Okay, good. All right, and online we are grateful to have Jessley Anderson with us.
There.
She's there somewhere.
Through the window. And Tony, we're grateful you can be here with us as well. So we may have some others join with us via Zoom, but we definitely have quorum, so it's great to be here in person, looking mostly in person. But with the convenience of Zoom, but we're very, very grateful to be able to be looking in the rearview mirror, hopefully at COVID, and enjoy human interaction. This is great. All right. Should we get to business, Tina? All right. Thank you, Tina, for your hard work in preparing for this meeting and the Tech College staff. The board packet was sent out ahead of time. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. Our first item on the agenda is business approval of the meetings held on April 22nd, 2021, a Zoom meeting. Any comments or questions or discussion that we need to talk about with regards to those minutes? There is none. We'll entertain a motion for approval of the April 22nd, 21 meeting minutes.
I'll approve.
Thank you,
I'll
Jerry.
move to approve.
Second?
Second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Will. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A lot easier than on Zoom. We can all talk at the same time. Let's not do too much of that today. All right, Vice President Burchell, would you like to talk about our wonderful students and,
Absolutely. So this is one of the best parts of board meeting, in my opinion, is recognizing our students. So if I could, Jonna, if I could turn the time over to our second student, Jonna, who's actually an instructor too. If you could introduce our Cece.
Sure, yeah. This is Cece Hernandez, and she is one of our students. Would you like to hear her story?
Yes, yes, please.
Want to hear from her?
is that okay, Cece?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Well, I'm still Ollie Hernandez, and people call me Cece because that's easier for them. And I'm 21 years old. I was born in California, and when I was 3, my mom passed away due to an unfortunate event. And my dad, my brother, and I moved to Mexico. And then when I was 17, I decided I wanted to come back to United States for a better education. And I think this college is great, and I love it. I was attending college, and when I was, I think, 18, and I was working at the same time, like, to provide for myself. But then I decided I wanted to move to Washington with my brother. He was over there. And I did that. I moved over there, and I thought, I was like, I want to continue going to college because I think education is very important. And over there, the school it was like so far away. So I was like, over there to college was like 10 minutes away from my house. So I was like, and I already know the college. I already been there. I love it. So I was like, I'm just going to go back for it. And I came back. Then I started attending college again. Now I work nights, and I come to college after I get off work. It's hard, but I love it. I want to finish my education and be someone in life.
Awesome, Cece. Thank you so much. From your perspective as the instructor, just what's your perspective from the instructor on Cece?
Well, she's been an amazing student. Okay, I'll stand up. She's been an amazing student. But when we learned more about her story as we talked to our students and get to know them and build relationships with them, we heard about some of the obstacles that she overcame in order to be here and how important her education was to her, so that she could give back to her community and support herself in life. We're just kind of amazed by her. Really impressed. She's a good one.
It's awesome. Any questions for Cece?
Cece, how much longer do you have in the program?
I think I have a semester left. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that you have dozens of jobs waiting for you here or anywhere you want to go. We would love for you to stay in our community, though.
Have your brother move here.
No, he's still in Washington. He wanted to, but he has more family over there, so he moved over there. He likes it.
I just wanted to tell you, you already are someone in life.
Slade, do you have some
I
questions?
ask, where would you like to be in 5 years or so, or?
Well, I was doing dental assistant, and I started doing like the laboratory, like the models and instrument cast, and I really like that. So I want to become like a laboratory technician.
Awesome.
What a great plan.
She'll make your crowns for you.
Okay.
Ah,
That's
man.
machining, so.
It'll-
Don't machine your own.
Congratulations.
And best of luck.
Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay and enjoy the great business work we have to do here, or you're okay to leave as long as you take some treats with you.
I will.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
Where do you work at night?
I was a student.
Oh,
Your story is what motivates us to just keep going.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cece, for having us.
Thanks, CC. And the other student that we wanted to recognize, we were hoping he could make it tonight, was Garrett Waite from our culinary arts program. He's currently, obviously, in the culinary arts program, but he's also working as a baker over at Aspen Mills, working in the bakery. So, doing a tremendous job in the program as well. So, unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it with us tonight. But anyway, those are our two students.
Thanks for making that part of this meeting, then. That and the graduation ceremonies that last Thursday, they had President Hecker had all those who were the first person in their family to graduate from college stand. And it's half of them and their family. So it's really inspiring. Okay, President Taggart, would you like to take item number 3?
This is something I don't want to do, and I enjoy coming and having this is our first board meeting together since February 2020. In fact, I'm not sure if some of you have seen this new carpet that's a year old in here,
Nice.
and we installed other things in our boardroom. By state statute, when we became part of combined as USHE, and actually prior to that under UTEC, they put board limits, term limits for our board members. And so for many of our board members who had worked with us previously, we just said they're in their first term. And as a result, Joyce Wilson has served for 14 years. She had one 4-year term and then a really long 10-year term. And just to give you some perspective in terms of Joyce joined our board in 2007. That was the year I became the vice president for instruction, and the year that we hired Tyler. My hair was dark and Tyler had hair.
I didn't have hair.
So, Joyce,
Tell me when you were born.
Joyce has mentored this leadership team for 14 years. Tina always asked me, please, read our meeting minutes. Joyce will find a grammatical error. And we laugh about that because we can both go over it and Joyce will find something. But Joyce has given us some direction for the college that has made a tremendous impact in our community, not only for each of us personally and professionally, but her influence here on this board, not only being a board member, but being the vice chair since 2010, I think 2011. She has been a critical member of this board. I know that she was appointed by the Ogden School District to sit on our board. And we never asked them to ever appoint anyone else ever again. But Joyce really represents Ogden-Weber Tech on both boards, and Paul does the same with Weber School District. You both have set the example for what it means to be a board member that serves on multiple boards, and I can't thank you enough. We have seen some tremendous growth between Ogden-Weber Tech and Ogden School District since Joyce has been on our board. Some phenomenal things where she has made a personal influence that has changed the lives of students. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of students. If you look at the number of students who were coming to the Tech College when Joyce first joined our board to the number from Ogden School District that are coming now, and it correlates to their graduation rates at their high schools and here, she is making a difference in our community, just like we say, one student. So Joyce, I want to thank you for 14 wonderful years of service. We know that you're going to continue to advocate for the college.
Yep.
You're still on the Ogden School Board. I still have your phone number. The school district, you could block it.
They'll find you anyway.
The school district has named a replacement for Joyce. So that person will go through the appointment process, and we'll introduce that board member at our next board meeting. So Joyce, we have this recognition for you to thank you for 14 wonderful years of service to Ogden-Weber Tech. And we can't thank you enough for the influence and impact that you've had on the institution. So thank you for that. I will tell you, we're trying to find a loophole on her not being a member of the board but still being the vice chair. We're not sure how we're going to do that. And I forget we're in an open public meeting and this is being recorded. And I might actually have the Assistant Attorney General on the call. Board members serve until the Senate and the governor appoints and the Senate confirms. So we have two other members whose terms end in June, Tony and Richard. But Tony, you may not be off the hook yet. Richard's on vacation. And we have, Tony, we have recognitions for you and Richard as well. But they continue to serve until that process is done, and we're in that process. It's kind of a lengthy process. Joyce, their board president, said, no, I've got other things for Joyce to do, and they've named a replacement. Really, we have board elections in June. Because we don't have new board members yet, we felt it was better to wait until we have new board members to then do elections. So we may be without a vice chair for a minute. That's the part where I'm going, she would be the ex officio vice chair. She just wouldn't be able to vote. You can still peruse the meeting minutes and show us where we can improve on our grammar.
I'm still on email distribution.
So thank you, Joyce. As I mentioned, as I also mentioned, Tony Ure has been just a phenomenal board member for the past 4 years. And we were really excited for Tony to be able to serve her second term. With her new job that she has, she asked that it was for us to identify another great community member to replace her. Tony has been a phenomenal addition. I appreciate everything that she has done. Tony, I will get you your recognition, and we have a gift bag for you as well with 50th anniversary clothing for you. You're still a supporter.
Advertise.
Yes. So for those of you that don't know, when we started giving board members recognition clothing, Tony would report to me at every board meeting how many people she had referred to the Tech College because she was wearing her. I think your white jacket probably has done the most.
Yes.
That one you need to keep wearing. But she's an honorary member of our pre-enrollment team in advocating. Tony, thank you for your wonderful, you did a lot in 4 years for us, and I appreciate that. And we wish you the best in your new job. I'm
really not crying, it's raining.
Richard Taylor is on vacation, and he's entitled to vacation, apparently. I mean, he's retired. Isn't every day vacation? Richard's been on the board since 2011 and again has been just a critical key member. We brought him on at a time when we were trying to complete our health building, and he has been a strong advocate in helping us with connections in the healthcare field. And so we'll make sure we get the recognitions to him. The bags in front of our board members contain some clothing articles with our 50th anniversary logo on that. And for Just Lee, we'll make sure we get you yours, you as well. We're giving these to all of our faculty and staff in about 3 weeks when we have our kickoff. We close for 2 days and we have a kickoff. And so what we wanted, our board members, we don't see you again until August. And so we wanted you to have your gear early. Now, one of the items is a vest. I'm hoping that it's,
Hope we need it.
I'm hoping that you can wear that before December.
Oh, nice.
Look at that.
And so we want you, we appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you.
You know, Joyce, do you want to say anything? I mean, again, you've been here for 14
Actually.
years.
And when she's finished, it'd be great to get a picture of you handing that to her.
Okay.
I'll take a picture. Okay.
When I first got on the Ogden School Board in 2005, that's when we found out that a representative from the Ogden Board serves on this board, and a representative from the Weber Board also served. I think we have two. We switched
We'd
off.
alternate, yeah.
Sometimes there'd be 3 school board members. Anyway, the individual that I replaced 2 years later, I knew that this place existed, and that was about it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that it was the treasurer of not just Ogden or Weber County, but top of Utah. And so over these past 14 years, I've loved being involved with the Tech College. This past year, of course, with COVID, I haven't been able to attend as much, and for some reason, my life has become the babysitter for my daughter, who has a 2-month-old now, too.
Appreciate that.
And I'm just going to stick in there that says, this is an unpaid.
Appreciation payment enough.
My daughter had the opportunity, or she took the opportunity to go through the CNA program here, and eventually you'll get her back from maternity leave in 2 weeks. So, yep, I will be an advocate for this school till the very end.
Thank you, Joyce. Now, we're going to go get in front of students.
Here, I'll take it. Got it, Monica? Okay.
Penny Polaroid.
Any Polaroid?
Yeah. Penny Kodak, Penny Polaroid.
I've not heard that before.
We need Tina's camp. Really nice.
Yeah, where's Tina's camp?
You.
Oh.
When was the last time you saw somebody use a digital camera?
A little
It's been a
point and
while,
shoot.
but I actually wish I had film camera still.
Your service has been a pleasure. Okay, go on.
At our April meeting, we gave you a draft of the college's business plan and asked you to provide us some feedback. Our business plan really is how we take our strategic plan, which is a 3 to 5 year plan, and we really identify, this is what we're going to do this next year. And we report on how we're doing on a quarterly basis. But our programs, our departments, our divisions, they track this weekly. And this is really kind of our guide to ensure we are being very transparent in what our goals are, and that we work on meeting those goals. I'm going to turn some time over to each of the vice presidents. We are not going to go over this in detail, other than if they made any changes since our April meeting, I'd like them to highlight those changes before we ask for your approval, or any other questions you may have had as you've reviewed this. So, Vice President Burchell, can I start with you?
Sure. The instructional side of the business plan was the completions or the certificates. We didn't make any major changes to this from the previous board meeting. We went from, I think it was 11.1% growth to 10.8% growth. So a minor adjustment, we just kept it at 11%, rounded up. But other than that, that was the only change that we made to the business plan, just a measurable piece as we got further in the year to get a better idea of what our certificates were this fiscal year, to project what we want to do next year with certificate.
So you may remember for this year, we focused in our instructional programs on retention. And everyone brought up their retention. That's important, because that leads to what our ultimate goal is, and that's the goal for this year, is we need more students to complete. And that's our primary key, is we completers. The demand for all of our students in every one of our programs is far greater, so we can't lose any students. They all need to complete. Thank you, Vice President Burchell.
Yep.
Vice President Schwenk.
We did not make any significant changes. Student services to focus on increasing our Welcome Week enrollments. Those are students who have either never enrolled at a college or have not been a student for the past year. So we have a 10% goal there and a 2% minority student enrollment goal. So everything of ours stayed the same.
That 10% goal of new students who previously haven't been here is critical for us. We do have students that kind of start and stop. We also have high school students that will attend their senior year. They'll take a month or two off, or 3 months, or 4 months, but they come back. They've already had a tech college experience. We really are targeting those that we're not planning on coming back. We have to do that in order to increase the pipeline. And they, I will tell you, for the past 3 years, our student services team has had a double-digit goal of growth in this area every single year. They're going to, go ahead.
So on the ones that you're not getting back, is it a particular program that you're noticing that they're leaving, not coming back to, or is it kind of across the board?
It's really across the board, Joyce.
Okay.
It's across the board for our longer programs.
Yeah.
If a student is close to completing, most of them will use our bridge scholarship or our summer scholarship. Every high school student that is currently in a program will give them another 3 months and pay for their tuition so they can complete. Many of them take advantage of that. We'll see others that have a longer certificate. Many of them say, well, I have enough skills, I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to go on to Weber State, or I'm going to go on to Utah State or somewhere else. One of our goals is to be the completion college this next year. We're going to be going after those individuals who were in a program, didn't complete, and find ways to help them finish. That's the best thing we can do to keep them in our community. Now, when you look at that minority growth number, you'll see it's 2%, and you can go, is a 2% growth adequate for where we need to be in our minority population? To give you context, 35% of our students are now students of color. Our goal has always been to match Ogden City. It's the largest city in our community, and they really are driving the demographics for the entire county. As we get closer to that 38, 39%, it's harder and harder to show growth every year. So 3 years ago, we had a very aggressive 4%. We feel that 2% is still very much a stretch goal, because we're getting closer and closer to actually matching Ogden City, which is phenomenal. So thank you, Vice President Schwenk. Vice President Call, any changes that you have?
Just minor change, under the objective of investing in our greatest resource, which is our employees. We just refined the plan a little bit by removing one of the bullet points that made reference to providing relevant professional development. I think that can best be accomplished at the program and department level rather than from the top down. So these 3 bullet points that are here with respect to ensuring that salary ranges are relevant, improving the onboarding process, and looking at telecommuting options, that will keep us plenty busy and will be more effective just focusing on those 3 things.
With that, I'll ask if any of the board members here or online have any other questions about our priorities, our objectives, or our budget layout that we've given you a budget snapshot of where our funds are going next year to meet those goals.
We'll entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 22 business plan.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, Vice President Call, on to the fiscal year 22 operating budget.
Okay, thank you, Chair Wardle. Very interesting year here, and I think that rather than going through each one of these bullet points and budget, I think I just will kind of summarize it by saying not very often you have a year where you have an influx of over $5 million in your budget. And $3 million of that is coming from the federal government in the form of higher education emergency relief funds. So some of that's under operating revenue and some of it's under non-operating revenue. And the difference is some of it's institutional costs and a portion goes to funding our students, funding education funding for them. So that's money that won't be here all the time, and we completely use all of that money is yet to be seen, but that's over $3 million that's trickled into our budget in expenses and increases in expenses to offset that revenue. The other $2 million is in state appropriations, and $688,000 of that really is just a shift of custom fit dollars that used to come to us through USHE, Utah System of Higher Education, used to pass those through to us, and now they come directly into our appropriation. So it really wasn't an increase to us, just a different way of getting to us. So if you back that out, that leaves you about just over $1.5 million in new state appropriations. And some of what that includes is $480,000 for compensation and health insurance increases. The legislature funded a 3% merit-based increase. We received that was $441,000 for compensation and benefits. The $480,000 was for employer-driven programs, growth and capacity issues. We did receive another $306,000 for equipment, $256,000 for strategic workforce initiative, and then $140,000 of one-time money for a articulation partnership for dual enrollment with Weber State University. So once again, that had impact on our salaries and our benefits, our general expense, and our capital budgets. They all went up to accommodate that new revenue. But that's it in a nutshell, and I'm happy to address any specific questions you have as you've looked through this, if you have any.
Budgeting's pretty easy in a family.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Expense side that you don't marry now.
I have one question.
Yeah.
On the federal money for the $1.63 million, it says funding for students. Is that to pay for tuition and fees that they have? Is that what it's being used for?
That funding is earmarked only for students,
Right.
but we cannot dictate how or where they spend the funding. So the prioritization is for low-income, first-generation students. We identify them, and they receive kind of a flat stipend that goes to them. And they can use that funding for their tuition, but they could also use it for daycare, any other need.
What's the timeline on spending that?
May 22nd, 22.
Okay.
So the federal government, much like with our initial CARES Act, said you have to make a certain portion of this as a direct payment to the student who has been impacted by the pandemic. And so they gave us some parameters. Now, we can actually use some of the institutional funds to increase the amounts. We can continue to spend that on students. We are looking at how do we help our current students remove those barriers so that we can help them compete. I don't know that if I have mentioned this before, but the legislature has carved off a portion of their federal dollars, and they have a pool of $15 million for all higher education. This is kind of first semester, first year of this year. They're saying, we would like to see for high impact programs and for special populations, what would it take for the 16 higher education institutions to provide a tuition-free experience for those students or a much reduced tuition experience? if those institutions, and we had to apply, we're waiting to hear how much of that 15 million will be allocated towards us and each of our sister institutions. The legislature has said, we expect that you'll also match some of those funds with your own federal dollars that you've received, which makes sense, and that's a good partnership. And then, if you spend it all, we still have a big chunk of that $1.6 billion that we haven't allocated. But they're being very prudent in saying, let's see if you can spend 15 million before we give you 50 that you don't spend.
Yeah.
If we spend that 15, they've indicated, come back to us during our special session or during the regular session, and we'll give you more dollars. And so the message that we want to give students is, come on in, let us help you. We have different funding mechanisms. Behind the scenes, we'll find a way to help a student remove those barriers for tuition and fees. Now, there's still a lot of work we need to do, because tuition and fees isn't the only impact for our students or barrier for them completing. A lot of it is time. They're like Cece that works full-time. She works a swing shift or a graveyard shift at Fresenius, so she can come here during the day. So we'll report back to you on how we're using those funds. You'll see many of our sister institutions, including Weber State, talking about very low or reduced cost tuition. One of the things that we see Snow College is doing is they say, if you'll pay for the first 6 hours, we'll pay for the rest up to 18 hours. We'll cover everything else for you.
Yep.
And so we're working together. We're waiting. We have a communication plan. We have a marketing plan. We're just waiting to see how much we're going to receive from the legislature so that we can then match it with our plan. The legislature says we can only use it on students who are not currently enrolled. Those left return are students that have never been enrolled, but we can use the funds we have now to help currently enrolled students. One of the things we don't want to have happen is you have a pot of money if you're not currently enrolled, and we encourage people to drop out so they can access funds to go to school. We're not going to let that happen.
Okay, thank you.
That was a long answer for a really short question.
Is the expectation that we will track how the money's been spent and report back?
The federal government
Yeah.
requires it,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and actually the state audits us.
Okay.
We've already been audited on the first tranche of CARES Act funds.
Now, these two allocations that we have here are considered HERF, Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds 2 and 3 that are left. We've already spent one, which was an allocation of, I think, $600,000. Half of it going to students and the other half being used for PP&E and other institutional costs associated with the pandemic. Any other questions on the budget? Hope that wasn't too brief.
There are none. We'll entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 22 operating budget.
So moved.
Thank you, Joyce. Second. Bill, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vice President Call, we have got a policy to talk about.
Yeah, this is a new policy that we are adopting in connection with Utah House Bill 12. You read in the memo that states an employer within the Utah system of higher education will provide training to their employees regarding abusive conduct, create a policy supporting and resolving abusive conduct among employees. So really a good policy, and something that, as you look at the policy statement, essentially just says the policy of the college is to provide and maintain a work environment free from abusive conduct, which is a healthy thing to do. What we've done in the procedure section is just outline what's considered abusive conduct and what isn't. You know, you can't get away with saying, hey, my supervisor's holding me accountable and making me show up on time. That's not abusive. But, you know, if there's intimidation, humiliation, and also one of the other factors is this a single occurrence, or is it the kind of thing that's been persistent and going on for a long time, that in terms of defining if it's abusive conduct or not. But then the complaint procedure and the investigative procedure are outlined there in the procedures as well, and I'd be to trying my best to entertain any questions or comments that you have about this, either the policy statement and or the procedures.
It's a good protection for the administration, the employees,
Yeah,
the people at the college, so.
yeah, it really is. It's good policy to have, and so we're happy to implement this.
Questions? Entertain the motion for approval of the abuse conduct prevention policy.
Make a motion.
Right, second.
I'll second.
Kirsten, any other further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Vice President Virtual. James.
Thank you. We present to the board changes and additions and really deletions or teach-outs of our programs for each fiscal year. And if you remember last year, in fiscal 21, you're going to be looking at this year thinking, man, they're just not doing a whole lot this year. We had a lot of changes in fiscal 21. Part of what we're doing in fiscal 22 is intentional, and what I mean by that is we intentionally went into fiscal 22 asking for not a lot of program changes, because we want to identify those and really put in the work for fiscal 23. It takes a lot of time and effort to change our certificates and our curriculum outlines. If we're doing that every year, it's putting undue burden on our faculty and staff, in addition to trying to do what we're doing in the classroom. So we made the decision to, in fiscal 22, please, if we don't need to, let's not make a lot of changes so that we're prepared for fiscal 23. And that's reflected in what you'll see here. We really only had 2 programs that we've identified as teach-out programs for fiscal 22, which means we will not enroll into those programs for fiscal 22. Any students that were currently in those programs will be taught out. We'll extend that training so they can complete the training. So those 2 programs are Construction Trades Prep, which was a really short program that we had for just over a year. It's 30 clock hour. It was 30 instructional hours that got students some really basic construction skill sets. We have our construction program that will stay, and we'll continue to teach that. But we just didn't have a lot of, first of all, we didn't have a lot of students in the program, and employers were really looking for more than what we were doing in the trades prep outline. They were looking for the sketch sets that were in construction. So we didn't have any students on that trades prep outline, so it was a obvious decision there. And then on the Machinist 2, those concepts that were being taught in Machinist 2 will be added to our Machinist 1 outline as elective courses. So if students want to get up skills and up training in Machinist, they can continue that training. It just wouldn't be on a program outline. So we'll eliminate that program and not enroll into that program, teach it out for any students that are currently on it, and not do that into the future. So those are literally the only changes that we're making for fiscal 22. The list of programs you'll see are on page 23. We now have 31 programs offered here at the college that are approved through COE, and those programs are listed here. Again, we've highlighted those 2 that we are going to teach out in fiscal 22 and not enroll new students into. Any questions?
Kind of a weird one. On your 50th anniversary, do you know how many the school started with 50 years ago? 93 programs.
Oh, excuse me. 93 students. I listened to the question before you answered. We had 93 students. I don't know if we know how many programs we started with. Let me search the archives.
Just curious.
And we had some really, over the years, we've had some interesting programs. We've had upholstery. We've had retail meat cutting. We've had cash register repair. Actually, cash register repair and the cashier program was the predecessor to our IT program. When computerized cash registers first came out, that was actually the start. But I'll try to find out.
Yeah.
I know historically, some of our very early programs were things like secretary, it was key punch operator, sheet metal. Welding was one of our first programs, but sheet metal was actually probably one of our first manufacturing programs to support Hill Air Force Base. And then we added welding. Machining came actually much, much later, and we started in the evening at Weber High School. It wasn't even taught on our main campus because we didn't have room on this campus. But we'll try to see how many programs that we had. A history was written several years ago, and we usually refer back to that document.
Okay.
Next year, fiscal '23, there will be a lot of color on this outline. There will be a lot of updates and changes for fiscal '23.
Glad you're doing it right.
Yeah.
I already peppered them with the machine. They can, expand the hours.
Right.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year '22 programs.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We are now to the informational items here. Some reference documents there that do not need or require any formal action taken. We had a chance to look through those. Any discussion on those? We have no need for executive session, open discussion. You have a president report off the cuff?
I do. I do want to thank those of you that were able to attend our graduation. It was our first graduation in person, again, probably since February 2020. We've done some drive-through graduations. We have done one virtual, but it was nice to actually have all of us together. I want to thank Joyce, and I want to thank Ogden School District, Ben Lomond High School. We didn't know what the COVID protocols were because we have to let students know in advance to plan for graduation. We knew we wanted to do it outside, and we didn't want to do it on our lawn because if you're in high heels, you sink into the grass. Probably not now, but 3 months ago, when we were planning this, we knew we wanted to do it outside. Weber State was very kind and gracious, and President Mortensen said, hey, listen, I think we're going to do ours on our football field. If you would like to use Wildcat Stadium, I can make arrangements. We have such a great partnership with Ben Lomond High School, and they have put so much time, energy, and resources into that new facility. So we reached out to the principal and to their athletic director, and they said, that's an awesome idea. Please come here. I said, all right, how much our graduation team said, how much? And they said, are you kidding me? We will not take money from you. You're a tech college. We are partners in what we do. Your students are our students are yours.
And I found out this week, the principal, Mr. Paul, put himself through college by going through a CNA program and working as a CNA to get his education degree.
I didn't know that. So we had this all planned. It's June. It's lovely weather. A week before, it was actually that week, we were at 102, 103 degrees, and we were, Tina, who's the chair of our graduation team, was not having a good week.
Literally sweating.
We meet as a cabinet on Thursday mornings. We ended our meeting early, rolled up our sleeves, and went over to Ben Lomond High School at 10 o'clock and moved all the chairs on the track, all of our VIP chairs over, and just said, it's going to be cool, and everyone's going to be in the shade. And sure enough, when we started, we were in the shade. And the weather was nice, and it was wonderful because we never want to limit the number of family and friends that are there to celebrate. It was great. We plan to be back on our campus. We do it 3 times a year, so that we don't have to limit the number of family and friends. When we look at the number of graduates that show up, and this graduation, we had over 340 graduates in 4 months complete the program. We had 75 come to graduation. But on average, they bring 10 people with them. So to have 750 people there to celebrate 75 students, that's awesome. We take that as a win. So, but it was nice just to be together again, and I think people are hungry for that. We reached out to some students who participated in the virtual and said, do you want to come to a real one? And we actually had 10 students that came from earlier in the year, said, yep, I want to wear my cap and gown, and we celebrated that. I'm really excited about this year, not just because we see light at the end of the tunnel in terms of COVID. I hope. We held the vaccination clinic on campus today. But we have some partnerships that we have with Weber State University. Vice President Hall talked about the one-time funding that we received. We have some aggressive plans that we're going to put in place this year that we want to make sure work so well that we can get ongoing funding to keep it going, and it's just the beginning. We have some discussions with Weber Adult Ed, and where we want to pilot something in the state of Utah that's not done anywhere else, where students are co-enrolled in adult education and technical programs, much like our youth build program, but we're going to do it for non-youth build students and find a way for us to bridge their high school completion and their tech college experience. We have 19,000 individuals in Weber County alone who do not have a high school diploma, adults. Now, not all of them want to or will be prepared to take a college course or program, but we do have a lot that are. We have people working right now in very highly technical fields that don't have a high school diploma. And so we're going to bridge that gap. Something that's not being done anywhere else in the state, we want to lead out. We have some continued partnerships with Ogden School District. So this is telling you, we are due for a great year, and fiscal 22 is going to be a phenomenal year. It's going to set the precedents for some phenomenal things for the next decade. And that's what you should do in your 50th year. Yep. You celebrate it, and then you crush it for the next 50. That's my report.
Great report, President. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work, you and your staff. It's been a pleasure to serve with you, and it's great to be back together. Excited about the future. This is the resource that our community and our businesses recognize what a value it is, so thank you. Okay, our next meeting is in August on the 26th here. Do we know, will there be a virtual Zoom option as well?
I think our plan is to continue to offer the Zoom so that board members that are traveling or have, I don't need to tell board members, sometimes you have last minute things where you're going, I physically can't be there, but from my office, from my car, from somewhere I want to participate. So we'd like to leave that as an option for board members to be able to join in if needed. We still encourage you to be here in person, but if that's something you can attend, we would much rather you have that option. And I think it's better than just phoning in. We're using some different technology right now. We're using a mix of phone and camera and laptops. We are going to be having some equipment installed that will make it seamless in this room, where there will be a single camera mounted, there will be microphones in the ceiling, and Vice President Burchell will not have to be our technical and run everything.
Probably still will be.
It will actually do something that Vice President Burchell has been asking since he was hired. Why don't we have power and ports underneath this table? This table has an I-beam down the center of it. It was built in this room. It's immovable. Really, it is. And the floor is very, very thick concrete because this was maximum security when it was juvenile justice, and the rebar's about far apart. It's very difficult to trench. But Cache Valley Electric, because we are their educational partner for the JETC Electrical Union program, Cache Valley Electric has found a way for us to wire it underneath.
Oh, wow.
So that's one more thing that Vice President Burchell will hit his knees on. Paul probably does too as well. You tall guys just, you get to be great basketball players, and then you ruin your knees with low tables.
Bony knees with lots of bruises.
That's very good. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Kirsten, thank you. Okay, thanks everyone. Good to be with you, and thank you, College for the gear, the swag.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm gonna grab some treats.
I haven't checked.
Bye, Tony.
Bye, Tony. Miss you.
Thanks, Tony.
You know, we actually had all of our, we had all